Captain Cabinets is my ex. Yes.
I'm lost for words. I'm stun locked. I think I've probably had the same reaction that the entire community's had at this end of season law drop. We are now at the season finale of a soap opera. We've had everything, and now we're at the relationship law drop, and cue everybody looking stunned and zoom ins to people wide-eyed like we're watching a Mexican soap opera or an Indian soap opera, right? It's got a little bit weird. It's got a little bit private. It's got a little bit personal. It's got a little bit parasocial. And I don't like it. I think it's weird. I think it's really, really weird. And I don't want to farm this. But what I will say about this, right? This is the last-ditch attempt of a desperate man who's in a monologue has now accepted that he's cooked, that he's being defeated, which is cringe to say because we're all catching L's here because it's not about winning or losing, in my opinion. But this is a man who is loading all rounds to fire his last salvo in an attempt to take out some ships before he sinks to the bottom of the ocean. He's pulled out the dead man's switch and thinking, well, I'll go out, and at least I can take out a few people with me. The nuclear option. He's playing his trump card, but I think he's overreached his hand here. And the reason he's done this is because he can't argue any of the arguments. With me and CJ, I think he sees that we're not emotionally invested. We're clowning on him and memeing on him, and he doesn't have many rebuttals for what we've got to say, because a lot of it's his own words that just make him look terrible, right? So he goes after, like, comments to make out I'm promoting violence, or blame me for things that happened in his Discord server, or blaming all of us for things that happened in his Discord server, or calling CJ racist because people were having light-hearted jokes in his Discord, but then he tries to attach intent to CJ because there's no argument on CJ to be made, so let's just make out he's a racist because, I don't know, somebody said something in his Discord. They're like weak attacks, right? And they're just deflecting off us. We're taking no damage, and it's costing a lot of SP for him to do this. But I think what he's done is he's looked towards Cap on his right flank, right, as a potential weakness to exploit because she's emotionally invested in this. And I don't blame her as well. Not only of the news we've found out, but also because she has been quite brutally attacked recently, and I can understand her emotional standpoint. And I think he's now using this and as an attempt to write off everything she said, because he can't actually argue what she said because she's been spitting game, right? So the best way to do it, especially to his type of audience, is just say she's a crazy ex. Now she's the bitter ex who still wants me, who still has feelings for me, so she's saying all this crazy shit. So I don't need to argue the points now. I can just point and say, she's a crazy ex. The fact that he even brought into Tectone and Tectone's situation with what's happened with Captain Cabinet, insane. And this is supposed to be a friend to Tectone. Do you know what I mean? Like, this guy is willing to stoop so low. There's no lengths, it doesn't seem, that he's willing to go to attempt to win an argument. But he's been losing arguments for a while now, and people have been seeing it. Like, even prior to him losing these arguments, people saw his escalating rhetoric and the world things he said, right? But he's been losing argument after argument and point after point now for weeks. And I feel like this is like the final stand, the nuclear option. If you can try and take Cap out with some emotional manipulation of the situation and be like, yo, she's just a crazy bitter ex, it allows maybe then for him to try and limp out of the situation with some semblance of respect from his audience. But I think maybe even some of his audience are starting to come to grips with it now. I've had more and more comments recently of people saying that I actually used to watch this dude a lot, and I can't understand why I did now, because he's just shown himself up to be a piece of shit recently. He's been doing it for a long time, but I think people are really starting to see it now. Again, there was no need to do this other than try and undermine Kat's reputation, argumentation with this idea that she's just a crazy woman, right? A crazy ex-missus. But all it's done is, like, prove that, like, Saint's a crazy ex. Like, that's what it seems like to me. That's what it feels like, right? This is a dude who has been following her Twitter, even though he's got it blocked, and a Discord, and her VODs, and her videos, and her streams constantly. Now, I know people will say, well, Kat's been doing the same. Granted, gotta be fair, she has. It ain't equal though, man. Like, a dude's been doing it to an insane amount, right? And I think personally, it's hard to say this as well, because dude's been amazing at making himself look terrible recently. But like, that announcement yesterday, followed by the vile things he was saying about Cap, right, just made him look even worse. Like, I don't know. Obviously, I'll get it, his audience, right? There's an incel vibe that comes off of Saint's audience and Saint himself, right? If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's probably a fucking duck, right? And it stinks of incel. And I think that's why he's attempting to play that card, because I think he thinks it'll play perfectly to his base and maybe to a potential wider audience. That, that she's just a crazy, bitter ex, and it all makes sense now, right? But it just doesn't. It makes sense, but not in the way that he thinks. It makes sense in that, oh, that's why he's been going so hard at her, particularly. Like, I think part of it is because of that, but also I think he genuinely thinks that potentially she's the one that can be emotionally exploited in terms of her potentially having a crash out. Because he even said it himself, which I don't believe this, because saying Cap's an intelligent woman, right? He even said this himself, that she could be baited into committing federal crimes. That was literally what he said. And I think he genuinely thinks, oh, he can push her to the extent of maybe her crashing out and then be like, yes, that's how I won. She won for me, you know, with a self-destruction. Again, I think this was an overplay of the hand, of the trump card, if you will. Dude attempted to fire a nuclear missile, but it went off in the silo and decimated himself, because unless you are just blinded and just wholeheartedly support him, there's nothing in what he said. He even had these sort of weird insinuations towards that she, like, physically scared him because she ran at him and chased him when they first met, which, knowing women, right, throughout my life, when you have been away from them for a while, or potentially meeting somebody you've been speaking to properly, do you know what a lot of them like to do? Run at you, give you a hug and embrace you. It's kind of, I wasn't there, but I'm just going to assume that's probably what happened. But even then, dude, turn it into some weird thing of, oh, she chased me around the house and all this. I don't know. I saw her eighth armor. Again, this is weirdly personal, talking about that they were all drunk, he wasn't, but it never happened. So, or it didn't happen how it was explained. I don't fucking know. Maybe it didn't happen as the meta. I just don't know. I wasn't there. As I say, we're getting into these weird personal places now that just never needed to happen. And I think he specifically has done this in an attempt to, like, try and shut her down through this, just like how he did with trying to blame us for the attacks on his Discord. It was a desperate attempt to silence us through overwhelming firepower, but just spamming that firepower, not specifically going after things we've said, but just, if I can just spread the battlefield with unexploded munitions, maybe they'll be too afraid to move. That's what that felt like with the threats and the blaming towards us about the Discord and stuff, right? And this kind of feels like that now, but a bit more specific towards Cap of, how are you going to get out of this now? Because you look like the crazy psychopath ex, at least to him, but she doesn't. Like I say, I think anybody who's looked at it's gone, fuck. It makes it even worse now, the way he's speaking about her. You know, like I say, the dude, the way he spoke about her, it's vile, man. Like, man, I'm even all up for fat jokes and whatever. I think all jokes can be funny, right? But these ain't jokes, man. This is a nasty, bitter man trying to be as vile as he possibly can to somebody. And I'm all okay for preferences of maybe not wanting to be with somebody who's a little bit bigger, right? Fair enough. Like, the way he said that she come at him, he was like, get the fuck off me, and you know, I didn't want to tell her then, I was trying to be nice. But it's like, bullshit, man. I don't believe that, like, the way that dude's been, you know. And, like, even before this, he's always been, he's, like, quite snarky and cold to a lot of people. I don't believe this bullshit that it was like, I was trying to be the nice guy, because dude's, like, openly talks about all the time how he's a mean guy and he's meaner than Tech, and Tecton's much nicer guy than him. And like people laud that up as like as if it's a virtue that he's mean, right? I don't think it is. Like, how is that a positive trait in a person? Like, I don't see any positive traits in this guy at all. Like, these people who keep coming to his defense, like, you know, like VXV Fiction, who's really inserted himself into this situation in a bit of a grifty way, if you ask me, because he wasn't involved at all. And you could say, oh, self-inserted, right? Saint did make a video about me before, but I've inserted myself for a particular reason. And I'm not even trying to pretend I have some moral authority here, because we're all covered in shit. But the reason for me was I think he's bad for the space. So let me fire some shots at somebody who I think is bad for the space. Will it fix it? Probably not. But I want it to be known this is a person that's bad for the space. And if more people can see, all the better, right? All the better. I'd love it if he'd change, but I don't think he will. But I just think he's bad for the space. But like V's coming in, this idea that I'm morally above this, I'm the mature one in this, but he's loving it. And like, he's pretending to be unbiased and he's clearly biased. And he keeps going on that he's a friend of Saint and that. It's like, if you're a true friend, man, maybe you should be reaching out to him, man, because he's cooking himself and making himself look worse and worse, and he's spiraling and spiraling and spiraling. And if I was a friend of somebody like that, I'd be in the DMs every day saying, bro, you need to hold the fuck up. And I'd be public about it as well, because this is an insane spiral, right? And we're at a point now where it's just... we're at so proper levels, man. Like, I don't know what to say. People told me Gacha was a crazy space, right? And I was like, man, I've been in gaming for a while. I remember the days of like Call of Duty and Battlefield and the console wars. Like, shit was crazy, right? You know, Halo days, you know, coming through those years, formative online gaming years where shit got crazy. And still some of that stuff is like crazy. But this space, it's fucking weird, man. It is, man. Like, I'm stomach by the whole situation. Like, maybe Saint's caught to W here, because I'm like, what's the reply? I suppose my only reply is what I said. I think he's done it as a last-ditch attempt to try and shut Kat down and make out that she's crazy. It's not worked. And I think it's just made him look worse as well. It's not something I want to be farming, because, as I said, it's far too personal and private. And just why bro did this? As I say, he'll stoop to any level, man. Actually insane. Rather than just maybe catching an L a couple of weeks ago and being like, whatever, I'll move on. Yeah, but he can't, because he's like built a Colosseum. He's built a bunch of sycophants who expect a warrior to win all the time. That don't want to be seeing this. And dude's been taking shots left, right, and centre. And rather than just yield, bro's like, no, I don't care how pathetic it makes me look. I'm going to carry on. And still thinks he's winning, as I said. Internally, I think he's realising the position he's in, but his body won't accept it. His ego won't. His will to carry on won't. So he's fighting the fight. Even though I feel like bro's lost, man. Like, I get it. He gets more views. And I know that's his only metric. I get more views, so I am right. And, you know, I'm friends with Tectone and people like VXV. I'm still gassing me up. So I am right. And I've got this army of sycophants who believe me. But, like, the greater space outside can see, right? You know, you're starting to see a lot of people speak up about this now. The DMs I get, the conversations I see going on Twitter. Some people don't want to be involved because it's messy, right? But trust me, the wider space sees the dude for what he is. And it ain't good, man. It ain't good. But yeah, I don't know what to say, man. A different video here, because it's like, I can't, like, I've got so many funny memes that I could do for this, right? But it feels like it would be wrong to do so. Do you know what I mean? Because this is like private shit. And man, I'm not even friends with Captain Cabinets, right? She's like a passing acquaintance. Man, she's even dragged me hard in a video prior, right? Probably even harder than Saint did. Oh, like, she's been treated so badly. And this is just another attempt at a person to shit on him more. Like, I know he claims like he was catfish, all this, but if he actually genuinely cared for her, it doesn't change just because you're not attracted to her. Okay, there's no attraction, you're not going any further. But if you cared for that person, I don't think dude cares about anybody, man. Honestly, I don't. This is a narcissistic person who just seems to lack any empathy. That's what it feels like to me. Yeah, this space is crazy. Anyway, back to more gameplay stuff, and yeah, I'm hoping. I don't want to speak on this situation again unless something crazy comes up about it. Specifically, this probably still will mean on Saint here and there when he crashes out, because he's a lol cow. It's funny to point and laugh at the lol cow. Yeah, man, I ain't here to farm this. It's far too personal. It's far too parasocial. It's fucking weird. Yeah. I'll see you in the next one, man. Ta-ra.